All right, let's dive into an absolutely incredible true story of espionage from deep inside the CIA. This is a story the agency really tried to keep secret, one that peels back the curtain on the new tactics being used to hunt threats from within. You know, the worst thing that can possibly happen to an intelligence service is a betrayal from the inside. And this is the story of how the CIA hunted one of its own traitors and the two officers they sent in as bait to lure him out.
Now, this whole spy hunt didn't start with just a suspicion. Nope. It started with a confirmed nightmare. A trusted ally delivered this chilling revelation that proved the enemy was already inside the walls.
So, what is a mole? Well, a mole isn't just any spy. It's the ultimate betrayal. It's an enemy on the inside who has the keys to the kingdom. We're talking access to operations, assets, and even the real names of fellow officers.
A friendly intelligence service basically tipped off the CIA, saying, hey, you've got a turncoat. The problem wasn't just who it was, they probably had a good idea, but how to stop him. See, you can't just arrest a mole in the US, you need a rock-solid case. And every single day they spent building one was another day that vital secrets were bleeding out to a hostile nation. So this created a massive problem, right? How do you catch a spy who knows your entire playbook? The answer? You don't play by the book. You have to invent a whole new game, with rules the mole has never even seen before.
For this, the agency turned to Andrew and Jihi Bustamante. They were a tandem couple, a married, fully trained team. Think of them as a 1-2 punch, uniquely suited for this incredibly high-stakes mission of deception.
So the mission was basically this elaborate trap. The plan was to build something so new and so secret that it would create an information vacuum. This void, this black hole of information, would be absolutely irresistible to the mole. The goal was to make him so desperate to find out what was going on that he'd get greedy, make a mistake, and expose himself.
They called their team the Shadow Cell, and its design was revolutionary. You're not going to believe this. They actually borrowed tactics the US had learned fighting decentralized terrorist networks. They created this small, siloed team that was basically invisible to the main organization. They were using the enemy's playbook against a threat from within their own house. Now, to make this trap actually work, the Shadow Cell couldn't operate like any other CIA unit. It had to be a complete departure from standard procedure, designed from the ground up to be a ghost in the machine.
The absolute genius of the plan was total compartmentalization. See, standard operations are known at headquarters, which makes them vulnerable to a mole with access. But this was different. By keeping the mission details known only to a tiny group of local leadership, the mole couldn't leak what he didn't even know existed. The cell was a complete information black hole.
And this wasn't some movie plot. This was painstaking, real-world tradecraft. For instance, they used something called cleansing routes, flying to a totally neutral country to swap passports before entering the hostile nation. That way, any surveillance would trace their origin back to the wrong place entirely. So clever.
And the plan worked. The Shadow Cell started gathering amazing new intelligence, and the mole totally took the bait, desperately trying to find out what was going on. But success came at a price. Andrew's life was suddenly in grave danger.
Somehow, the mole got his name and fed it to Falcon's intelligence service. While operating alone deep inside enemy territory, Andrew got that sinking feeling in his gut that he wasn't alone. He was being tracked by a full surveillance team. His cover was completely blown.
He had just enough time for one call to Jihi on a burner phone. The coded message was chillingly simple: "I'm coming home early." That was the disaster signal. It meant the mission was compromised and he had to get out, like right now.
He was on his own. No extraction team was coming for him. He had to engineer his own escape, which ended in a nerve-wracking 45-minute interrogation at the airport. They had him, but then for reasons he'll probably never know, they let him go. He boarded the flight and the wheels went up. Unbelievable.
So how did they even find him? Well, the moment his cover burned for good was almost absurd. He was hiding out in an arcade, playing one of those shooting games, when one of his pursuers rounded the corner. They came face to face, the hunter and Andrew holding a plastic rifle, their eyes locked, and in that instant, it was just over, an irreversible mistake.
So Andrew made it out, but the operation had immediate consequences, both for the mission itself and for the life he and Jihi had built inside the agency.
Operationally, it was a stunning success. Andrew's alias acted as the perfect tripwire. Him getting caught proved the mole was active, and in doing so, it protected the entire Shadow Cell and all its new intel sources.
The evidence they gathered was critical, eventually leading the FBI to arrest the mole years later in 2019.
And the price of all this betrayal? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. For that kind of money, the mole sold out operations, assets, and the identities of his own colleagues, putting countless lives at risk.
But this success came at a huge personal cost. Andrew and Jihi were pregnant, and the CIA wanted to push them right back into even more dangerous roles. They realized the agency would always prioritize the mission over their family. So they made the incredibly difficult decision to just walk away from it all.
Ultimately, this story is so much more than just a spy thriller. It's really a glimpse into the future of counterintelligence, a future where the asymmetrical tactics of our enemies are turned inward to hunt spies in our own house. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Just how many other shadow cells are out there operating in the world right now?